Our next speakers are with Wake County Government, Wright Lowry and Ben Strauss. They will be talking to us today about modern mobile field collection and how they used Collector and Survey 123 for ArcGIS to support government services. Wright is an analyst with Wake County GIS and supports the Wake County Environmental Services Department on GIS needs and projects. He was a field conservationist with the Wake Soil and Water Conservation District for 12 years and has now been with Wake County GIS for 16 years. Ben holds a GISP certification and serves as a senior GIS analyst for Wake County GIS. His primary roles include GIS web application development, mobile field data collection applications, map service management, and serving as the technical lead for Wake County Open Data. So let's go ahead and welcome Wright and Ben.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Get this set up here. Yeah, so this is good. We've had one presentation on Collector and one on Survey 123, so we'll talk about both and how we're using them at Wake County. So I'm Ben, this is Wright. We work at Wake County GIS down the street. So we're going to talk about mobile field collection apps, Collector and Survey 123, which you've heard a little bit about already, how we're using them at Wake County to support various departments and services within Wake County. So just to give you an idea of where we're starting from, we're doing a lot of this already. We're using Collector for a number of projects within the county. We're going to talk about one in particular, which is recreational water sampling. We're also using Collector for hazardous spills reporting, wells mapping, a bunch of other open space mapping, et cetera, throughout the county. And then we've started using Survey 123 for our Parks and Rec department, and we'll talk about why we made that decision coming up. So I'll let Wright talk about the recreational waters testing application.
So we've been working with our Environmental Services Department for a number of years doing field collection with the Trimble. We've used the GeoXTs and lately the Juno units running ArcPad, so we have to do check in, check out data. We have to post-process it for the differential correction. But we're sort of moving to the Collector platform, or Survey 123 and ArcGIS Online, using the iOS devices. So an example of example of one of the apps that we have in production is for our recreational waters. We have 9 areas in the county that we have to sample. Their beaches, like on Falls Lake and Lake Wheeler, and it's important for Falls Lake because that's the city's water supply, or one of them. So in the past, the way that the Environmental Services Department has done this is they do weekly samples during the bathing season, during the swimming season, and if the bacteria levels had exceeded, then they would have to close the beach, and they'd go through this notification process, and so they wanted to streamline this a little bit, and we went to a new method after EPA changed the standards a little bit, and we wanted to notify people more quickly, and it really became more of a swim at your own risk sort of a deal, and so the beaches either get a no advisory, so they have the green code, or yellow, which could either be for an exceedance or anticipating rain, which a lot of times will affect the water quality due to the runoff. And they would only be closed if it was like a public health nuisance, which could include something like a sewage spill or extreme rain from a hurricane or something like that. But we wanted to be able to get that information out faster. So we've put together the Collector app for this, and this is really pretty simple to use. I'm just kind of hammering that point home because some of the folks that are doing this are pretty old school, and so it was pretty easy to implement, and they were able to collect all the data on site and and we were able to use the related data tables to help populate the reports. But we're collecting information like ambient temperature or the water temperature and different types of bacteria. And then we have notes for like the number of bathers or if there's a presence of geese, because all of these things can affect that. So this is when the status is put in the collector app, it goes into this map that's on the website, so people can go in and see exactly what the status of the beach is. And then we also have access to this internal viewer that's built with Web App Builder for the staff to do a little more analysis. Why does the status change? Is it due to rain? Is it due to E. coli or Enterococcus or whatever they feel like they need to investigate it further? Go ahead.
Okay, so that was one example of how we're using Collector. So now I'll talk about how we're using Survey 123 in a different example. So our Parks and Rec department has a inventory assessment that they do every year, and before they approached us, they were doing it in paper printed Excel documents, and there are thousands of assets throughout the county. We have 8 county parks, and so each park needs to do their own assessment, and they were just going out and they would go to the barn, and then in the barn they would go to the door, and then the door they would inspect the paint, and they would say yes or no, pass, fail, and then the hinges, yes, no, pass, fail, So there were thousands and thousands of these, and they were doing it on paper, and then some poor intern, I assume, had to transfer those paper forms to a database. We chose Survey 123 for this because, we originally had it in Collector, but they wanted to be able to collect different assets at each park, which makes sense. So instead of choosing one, in Collector, you could choose a park, but then all the assets for all the parks would appear in the drop-down list, and that was getting cumbersome. So, like the previous speaker said, we chose Survey 123 because of the logic involved, the cascading logic, where you could choose one park, and then only the facilities for that park appear in the next question. And that's a nice feature of Survey 123. So, they worked on this, Parks and Rec worked on this past summer, 2016. They collected over 2,000 surveys in the field. This is what the form looks like. So you can see the first question is, what park are you in? And then based on that first question, it gives them different options for the facility that they're investigating. And you can also collect photos and geopoint as they did. So it was a nice process. Like I said, they collected over 2,000 points. There are some tweaks we're going to make for this next upcoming cycle to make the collection process a little bit more straightforward for them. So future projects we're working on, we want to, especially with our wells team, we're testing out high accuracy GPS receivers. The high accuracy in Collector is a fairly new product, but it's worked great. And for our wells, they want to be able to go out and find that well exactly. So we're testing that, and we also just have a lot of demand for these. We feel like every time we show one of these apps to environmental services, to parks, to Board of Elections, etc., there's like 20 new ideas for a Collector or Survey 123 app that comes out of that. So we're constantly, trying to figure out how to devote our resources to give everyone what they need out of these apps. And then also at the county, Wake County, we have a new land development system we're going to in sometime next year probably, a Tyler product, Intergov, and so we're trying to figure out how to integrate that business system with these collection apps to make them work in harmony, because there are, for example, some of our inspections, I don't know if recreational waters will be in there or not, but there are some inspections that environmental services does, for example, out in the field, that will also need to be integrated with that land development system. Just acknowledge a few people in Wake County that helped us with these projects, and of course our Wake County GIS staff. That's it.